Let's talk a little Michigan recruiting. The season comes to an end on a high note, and you know what? They're just not done with the 2025 cycle. There's only a couple teams out there that are still recruiting in 2025, and Michigan's one of them. And they have some big targets still remaining on the board. Very important. That's why we got EJ Holland from the Wolverine on this episode, and we're going to kind of go behind the scenes of these remaining targets and also find out if this momentum is going to carry over to 2026. I think it will. But first, Michigan fans, these are exciting times. Smash that subscribe button for me. We're going to be here talking Michigan Wolverine recruiting all year long. So jump on board and hit subscribe. All right, let's bring in EJ Holland from the Wolverine. Now, EJ, two main targets still remaining in that 2025 class. We're going to talk five-star offensive tackle Tai Haywood and also four-star edge Zahir Matthysse. But when it comes to Tai Haywood, and he's committed to Alabama, I guess, but no experts think that he's going to sign there. Who do you think Michigan's biggest competition is for Haywood?
Yeah, definitely. I think the Tai Haywood recruitment is extremely interesting because it's all going to come down to NIL. I mean, I think this is as big of an NIL recruitment as you can get. Obviously, Michigan has to get him on campus just to get familiar with the program. He's never been to Ann Arbor, so just getting a first look will be somewhat important. But at the end of the day, I think it comes down to who's willing to pay. Obviously, Michigan wasn't afraid to do that with Bryce Underwood. That's the biggest reason they were able to secure his flip away from LSU during the early period. Heading into the late period, Tai Haywood is by far the biggest target left on the board. And I think they are willing to put together a package that is extremely competitive and, right up there with anybody willing to enter this NIL race. With Haywood, I think Texas Tech is probably the other school to watch here. They presented an NIL offer during the early period, and I was told it wasn't quite on par with Michigan's, but it appears that the Red Raiders have kind of refined some things and are making an even bigger NIL push. So, we'll see if that sways the momentum away from Michigan. I don't think Alabama is in this race at all, even though he's still a verbal commit. I think it's just, on paper, I guess he's a commit, but not really. I think it is going to come down to Michigan and Texas Tech and maybe a surprise player too. Florida State has shown some interest. It wouldn't be surprising to see, maybe a Miami or an Oregon decide to throw their hat in the ring if they have money to burn. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of where things stand right now. It'll be interesting to see what his official visit schedule ends up looking like. I do expect Michigan to get one.
All right, yeah. Tai Haywood is the last remaining five-star offensive lineman in the 2025 cycle. If anybody's going to get one, Tai Haywood's the only one available. And, if there was a breakout star for NIL this cycle, it would be Michigan and it would be Texas Tech. So it's no surprise that those two teams are battling it out for the last five-star offensive lineman. Now, moving on to Zahir Matthysse. You got a chance to see him up close and in person when you were in Orlando, Florida for the Under Armour games. Zahir Matthysse, a decommitment from Ohio State, one of the top edges in the country that still goes unsigned. What did you learn about Zahir Matthysse from Orlando?
Yeah, so, Zahir is another priority for Michigan, their top target on the defensive side of the ball heading into the late period. He has 3 official visits scheduled: Michigan, Florida State, UCLA. Now, Michigan's official visit was initially supposed to take place on January 10th. That has been rescheduled for January 25th. So that means Michigan will, as of today, will be getting that last visit. And, I think in a recruitment like this, where you're heading into the late period, where there isn't as much familiarity with some of these finalists, getting the last visit is huge. You want to have the last say. I think Michigan offers a lot to Zahir, not just with NIL, but just with edge production. I think that's something that's very appealing to him. There's going to be opportunity early on in his career to get in the rotation and get significant time. And like I said, just the development in general, I think is really strong for Michigan at the edge position. And, when you look at Michigan's class, this cycle, they landed Julius Hawley, who's kind of a borderline 3-star, 4-star type of guy, but he's kind of a more compact edge. Michigan needs
Mm-hmm.
a taller, longer guy, and that's definitely what Zahir Matthysse brings to the table. He's about 6'5.5", 230 pounds, kind of a lanky build, but can add some weight. But, Michigan has had a lot of success with players like Zahir Matthysse. And plus, he's a former Ohio State commit. So it would be nice for Michigan to get a little jab there at their rival.
Yeah, definitely. You've been on this channel and we've talked a lot about Michigan's recruiting momentum and whether or not the momentum from the end of this season in the portal and on the high school level is going to translate into more results in 2026. And already you see 2 top backs trending in Michigan's direction, Savion Hyder and Javian Osborne. Is this kind of an indicator of Michigan recruiting heading forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Michigan has a lot of momentum on its side. The way they closed out the 2025 recruiting cycle, landing Bryce Underwood, flipping guys like Nate Marshall from Auburn and Jordan Young from Clemson, and getting a big signing day win live on ESPN with Nathaniel Wusu Boateng. So, yeah, Sharon Moore's always been a really strong recruiter. He's arguably been, the best recruiter on Michigan's staff, even as the head coach. So I think that recruiting shouldn't be an issue. These guys are young, they're energetic, they want to and have a passion for recruiting. And on top of that, they now have the NIL backing. So if Michigan really wants to win a recruitment, it has the funding to do that. Like I said, you saw that with Underwood. I think you could potentially see that with Tai Haywood. And I think a lot of recruits are taking notice. Obviously, Michigan ended the season strong, beating Ohio State. They got a win over Alabama in the bowl game. And I think, Michigan has the lead for, a handful of top end 2026 targets, including the running backs you mentioned, Savion Hyder and Javian Osborne. And if you're a running back, I mean, Michigan is a school you want to go to. So, and they've shown the ability to utilize 2 backs over the years, from Blake Corum and Hassan Haskins to even, this year with Kalel Mullings and Donovan Edwards. So I think Michigan's a very appealing option for Hyder, Osborne, and several other, highly touted recruits. Jackson Cantwell, 5-star offensive lineman, was also at the Under Armour game, just visited Michigan. I think, they're definitely in the mix with him. Brock Harris was another Under Armour All-American, top 100 tight end out of Utah. Those positions, offensive line, tight end, running back, those are prime positions for Michigan to land top end prospects.
Should be fun. I'm looking forward to covering Michigan recruiting in 2026. Michigan fans, talk to EJ and I. The Wolverines currently have the number 9 ranked class in 2025, and it could go up depending on what Tai Haywood does. But what are your expectations for 2026? Let us know. Comment section below.